think Jim's influence is probably more notable in my big band writing and writing that I've done for larger ensembles. I studied with him when I was getting into writing a lot of larger ensemble things.
Mm-hmm.
Just talking about different sounds and, you know, pairing this group of instruments with the next. And I mean, he talks a lot about creating sounds that only exist in the listener's ear. You know, sounds that don't really come from one instrument that are sort of created by the different ways that you can pit one thing against another and overlay things. And so I just learned to think about timbre and sound and counterpoint, things like that from him. And Kenny Warner's influence has been huge on me. Again, I think before I met him, you know, I was starting to get a sense about practicing, but mostly I would just sit at the piano and play. You know, all my life I've played a lot, you know. But playing is not practicing. It's not necessarily focused. It's not necessarily being aware of your problems and you know, your weaknesses at music and handling them. And so Kenny was surprisingly the first teacher that I had that was really like, whoa, you gotta slow this down. You have to like be honest about, you know, what you're struggling with and break it down into small pieces, small manageable pieces, and really like, you know, learn each thing piece by piece.
Very
so
interesting.
I think before, you know, it's still a long route, but it would be a much more confusing climb had I not met. I encourage, you know, any musician of any genre or instrument to check him out, you know, for just learning patience and being honest with yourself about where you're at.
Very interesting. Tell us about your interest in Afro-Peruvian music. How did that happen?
That is Afro-Peruvian music. It's a long story a little bit. I've been checking out that music for just about the past 3 years or so, and I started getting into it. I met Gabriel Alegria, who is a trumpeter and composer, and recently the assistant director of jazz studies at New York University. So I met him there, and right in the beginning of the year during ensemble auditions, and was chosen to play in his ensemble, where we started studying Afro-Peruvian music and preparing to perform at the jazz festival in Peru. And I mean, the music grabbed me right away. It has some really flexible, I guess, kind of rhythmic elements to it, and I mean, there's just I think an openness and a spaciousness to the music that blends really well with jazz, and also just a wealth of things that are, you know, unique to the music that grabbed my attention. But so I was playing in that ensemble and also writing music for that ensemble. And so I got to know Gabriel both as a